Vice President Kamala Harris made history today. She has secured enough Democratic Party delegate votes to secure the party's nomination for president. That makes Harris the first woman of color to ever lead a major ticket as the presidential nominee.
And so joining us now with more on that nomination and the rest of the week's political headlines is WGN political analyst and host of the Political Report, Paul Lisnek.
It's Friday once again.
Happy Friday.
Hi, guys.
What a ways this race has come in the last 3 weeks. The big news now, Vice President Harris has the delegates she needs to secure the nomination and the momentum, raising over $300 million, more than twice Donald Trump's fundraising.
So she's raised over double what he did in the month of July. The question is it a short-lived sugar high? Or is this going to be a continuing trend? There is a sense, you get it on the ground, that this is a legitimate popularity swell for her. It's not going away anytime soon. And so the question for the Trump campaign and for former President Trump will be, how do they combat it? What do they do to pull some, in a positive way, attention back on him? Thus far, that's not been happening, but I'm sure he's thinking about it.
Let's talk about the Veep stakes.
Yeah.
We know there's reporting out there that meetings are happening this weekend with we think 6 potential contenders. We might hear an announcement. What's going into this? How does she make this decision?
Well, what we know is that the decision will be made by, and we will learn it on Tuesday in Philadelphia. So now, whether it leaks out before that or she chooses to announce it before that, we'll see. She is spending the weekend meeting with a variety of candidates. We know that a few of them have already canceled their weekend plans, Shapiro, Beshear, Kelly. But again, that could all be a ruse. Nobody knows. For me, there's a telltale sign in the fact that she's doing this rollout on Tuesday in Philadelphia. So that would suggest Josh Shapiro. Now, there are others who say, no, that doesn't mean anything. Pennsylvania is a critical state. And it is a critical state. But if you have Josh Shapiro standing on stage, how do you look at him and go, thanks, Josh, but it ain't you. It's somebody else over here. So I think things lean in that direction. He also, again, she can't win without Pennsylvania, so he becomes critical.
But 2 meetings with Governor Pritzker, vetting meetings this week.
Yeah, actually, I think there were 3 meetings with him. And, well, I'm sure he's in contention, but it's just, look, and, you know, he's from here, he's homegrown and all that, but the thing is, she doesn't need Illinois. Well, I should also make this point. Some people think that a vice presidential candidate, do they make a difference? They can make a difference somewhere between about 0.5% up to 2%. Now, you might say that's nothing. But in the swing states that will decide this election, and Illinois is not one of them, that could be all the difference in the world. So in Pennsylvania, for example, it could be that if the governor there boosts Harris by 0.5, by 1, that could be enough to give her the state.
Staying with the presidential race, so much consternation about having Donald Trump at the NABJ convention this week. The big headline was him questioning the vice president's blackness, essentially. How do you measure what that did to his campaign, and how has this conversation, what struck you about all of this?
Well, first of all, the fact that there's so much criticism about he shouldn't have been invited, he shouldn't have been there. These are journalists. Many are political journalists. He is the Republican nominee for president. So, you know, to say it's inappropriate to invite him there, I don't buy into that. I think it's absolutely proper for him to be here and proper for Vice President Harris to have attended if she chose to do it. Apparently, she wasn't able to do it by her schedule. But that being said, this could have been a very good opportunity for him to build bridges with the African-American community. Again, this was not a room full of his supporters. These were journalists. So you didn't hear the cheering. You didn't hear the applause. These were people wanting to hear his answers. So the attacks you're talking about, Ray, you know, all the way throughout against not only Vice President Harris, but even against one of the journalists from ABC from the get-go. Now, some people said, well, she was mean. She wasn't nice. What she did in her first question, and it is true, maybe she didn't spend a half an hour saying, welcome, I'm glad you're here. But she simply said, these are things you have said, Mr. Trump. All she did was give him his words back. He was offended by that, but then the reality of it is, if he actually said those words, what's wrong with that question? So I think it could have been a big opportunity for him with the African-American community. I don't think he did that well with it.
And NABJ's president said that his appearance there was delayed because he didn't want fact-checking.
Yeah, that's not what Axios is reporting. We're hearing from other sources that he came out and said, well, I'm 30 minutes late. It's your fault. It's your sound equipment. He blamed ABC, I think, for that as well, and going after it. When it's been reported by, I think, Axios and I think New York Times, that actually what was going on was his team demanded that he not be live fact-checked, which was on the agenda to live fact-check him for doing it. He would not go out there until they agreed not to do that. So, as always, the spin was, it's your fault, it's sound equipment. What I don't understand is why the journalists who were on stage didn't take that opportunity to say, you know, if it's true, Mr. Trump, you know that's not why we're delayed. were delayed because you didn't want to fact check, and that's what. But again, they weren't going to challenge him. Probably happy that he showed up in the first place. He only gave him 30 minutes. It should have been an hour. His team apparently pulled him off. But then again, since he was a half hour late, his argument could be, I gave you the rest of the time that I booked for it.
Let's talk about the historic international prisoner swap. President Biden pointed to the strength of using our global alliances to achieve this. Trump's disdain came out, and it really shows the difference that they have in their foreign policy approaches.
You know, as the election gets closer and as things are getting real, right? We're not that far from Labor Day. That's when people start to take all this for real, I think. You really do start to notice things. Look, there have been prisoner exchanges before, but this one got so much highlight. We saw Putin, by the way, greet the Russians who came off the plane in his world. So, you know, the fact that these folks came off and were with President, and to me, one of the most striking things that we learned from President Biden was this happened because of a deal with Slovenia and because of Germany. And the fact that he made the point, not been disputed, that the Chancellor of Germany said, I will do this for you, Joe. I will give up this bad guy for you. Biden talked about the importance of relations with other countries, how important it is. It'd be a very different world under former President Trump. People can choose the direction they want the country to go, but diplomacy looks like it's pretty critical. It made the difference here. And of course, you're right. Trump, rather than sort of saying, hey, welcome home, everybody, he went to say, you know, I could have done a better job and whatever, and not exactly the high road on that. He also had said previously, Putin would never send anybody home. It would only do it for Trump.
Right.
So this was a bit of a, maybe a little bit of a punch at Trump.
Interesting, too, that Biden was also sealing this deal when he was making the decision to not seek re-election.
Yeah, fascinating. And I'm glad you said that because it was about an hour before he announced his decision or made the decision that this thing happens. It goes to show you the complexities of a president's world and the fact that Biden, like him or not like him, but he's focused on his job and it looks like he will continue to do his job through his last moments in office. He said that last night, too. He said, I've got 90 days. He's got more than that.
Right.
But I've got days to do my job.
What's coming up Sunday?
So on Sunday morning, we're going to talk with Congresswoman Lauren Underwood about a new group she and other colleagues from Illinois have started called Illinois Women for Harris. We'll talk about that. We're going to talk to Professor Carolyn Shapiro from Kent Law on the Supreme Court reforms that President Biden has suggested. And then also next Friday on the Midday Show, where I do those author interviews, I will be talking with Renee DiResta about her new book called Invisible Rulers, which is all about the power of social media and other ways disinformation takes on a life of its own and becomes reality for some people.
Should be an interesting conversation.
Absolutely.
Sunday morning, 9 o'clock.
Thank you, guys.